G'day, Dennis from Caravan Cooking here. One of my favourite meals to eat is meatloaf, and this meatloaf recipe is so easy. The sun-dried tomato in it really gives it that extra flavour. We semi-prepare this at home, cryovac it, freeze it, bring it along to the campsite with us, add the extra ingredients, cook it for dinner, and it's so versatile we're having it in lunch the next day in sandwiches. Sun-dried tomato meatloaf. Enjoy the recipe. I like to prepare many of our meals before we leave home, and makes cooking easier and quicker at the campsite. So I'm starting off with 1 kilo of veal mince. I make sure it's at room temperature. I find that's a lot easier to mix the mince up when it's at room temperature rather than when it's cold. Then I'm adding a jar of sun-dried tomato pesto. So this is about 190 grams. I use all the jar to add the flavour. Scrape all that out. Then I find the easiest way to mix is really by hand. Not pretty, but it's effective. Probably not a good idea to have rings or jewellery on that hand when you're mixing, but it does a great job. So I'm actually going to cryovac this mixture. That really allows it to be kept in the SUV fridge for about 3 weeks or so. And it also means that that sun-dried tomato pesto flavour is really going to be infused into that mince. It's going to be lovely. So here I'm cutting the cryovac bag. So get that to the size you want, and I write the name of the meal on the top of the bag, and that just means that every day when I pull it out of the fridge, it's easy to see what it is. I've just got a permanent marker here. It's always good to use one that works. We'll get there in the end. I try and do all this prep work. It just makes it a lot easier when you get to the campsite. So this is a little cryovac machine. It's not an expensive one. I've had it for a number of years and it works very well. So the first step I want to do is seal the bottom of the bag, the cryovac bag, and that uses that heat strip that's at the front there of the cryovac machine. So that effectively turns that cryovac tube, if you like, into a bag by sealing the bottom there. And then again, just using my hand, I'm stuffing that mince mixture into the bag. Using the hand's more effective. Trying to use a wooden spoon or a spatula or anything, it's too hard to get into the bag, quite frankly. They're getting all those last little bits there. Come on, you can do it. That's the way. Just get rid of that. Now we're going to finish cryovacing the top of the bag there. So we're going to line up the bag. I'll open the machine up. Come on, Dennis, you're a bit slow today. So we're lining up the top of the bag there with a vacuum channel. And then we're going to press the seal button. That's the button there on the left in this machine. And that'll suck all the air. You can see the air being sucked out of that cryovac bag. And then when it's sucked all the air out, still sucking, it'll seal the top of the bag. See the seal there along the top? Now there's no air in the bag there, it's fully sealed, and that'll last well in the fridge. So a little bit later I'll pat that bag contents flat. And like they say in the good cooking shows, here's one I prepared earlier. So here's a couple of the bags that I've already done, and we've flattened them out there as well. Then what I do is I lay them all flat in the freezer when I'm at home, and that freezes them solid but quite thinly as well. Then I can stand them all up in my SUV fridge, and it's a bit like a filing cabinet with all the names across the top. It's very easy to see, and I can just pull those bags out. The bag that I need for that that night's dinner is easy to pull out of there. So it's time to get the night's dinner ready. The bag's still sealed nicely, as you can see here at the top. This was shot about 2 weeks after I pre-prepared the mince mixture, so it's been flattened down, it's been frozen, it's stood up in the SUV fridge with all the other night's meals, and we've pulled this one out and let it get to room temperature. Always want to cook meat at room temperature so that the meat cooks all the way through, and that doesn't matter, you know, whether it's a roast or whether it's meatloaf mince like this. That's my general rule. Right, so here's the pre-prepared mince mixture, as we said. Now, just a reminder, we're making sun-dried tomato meatloaf, and the sun-dried tomato pesto is really nicely infused there into the mince. I'm going to add 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Rather than take the whole pack of breadcrumbs, my beautiful wife has put it in a Ziploc bag there just to make it easy, so we didn't have to take all this excess stuff. Then we season that mixture with salt and pepper. You should always season meat when you cook it. Then the next step is we're going to lightly whisk an egg. It's always good to break an egg into a separate bowl, because if your egg's rotten, you won't waste the whole of the dish. You'll just throw that egg out and put another one in. Although it's been quite a few years since I've had a rotten egg, but when you get it, you know it. Give it a bit of a whisk. Just with a fork, that's easy, you don't need anything complicated. And just chuck it in on top of all the other ingredients. Not many ingredients in this meatloaf. It's quite a simple recipe, but it's tasty and it's a great recipe as well. Then get your hand in there again, give it a good mix up. It's pretty easy to do with mince, just squeezing all the ingredients together basically. Bit cramped sometimes inside the caravan. I've got a 15-foot caravan, so we're using the top of the oven there. So I use these alfoil trays. They come in all shapes and sizes. I've really found a medium-sized one works well for this recipe. So we're just going to get the mince into that tray, pat it down and squeeze it into all the corners. Of course, using the aluminium tray means you don't have as much washing up to do, which is a good thing. Now we're just going to smooth that mince down on the top, squeezing it into the corners as I said. Right in the corner, give it a bit of a smooth out on top. No need to paint it with egg or anything like that, it'll be fine. Nearly there. And I've got one of these Falconware baking trays. We're putting it underneath for 2 reasons. One, if the oil sort of drips out over the top of the foil, but also it's easier to put the soft foil dish into the oven. And look, we're really lucky that we have a an oven, and a gas oven in our outdoor sorry, in our off-road caravan. But you can cook this in a camp oven or a Dutch oven as well, that's fine. So we cooked this for 50 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. With the steam coming off the top there, beautiful. Very happy with that. So we served this with green beans and also with garlic and chili scallop potatoes. And I'll add the link to that recipe. And we also had a great meatloaf sandwich the next day. Look, if you liked the video, please give us a like and add commentary and subscribe to the channel. This is Dennis from Caravan Cooking. Thanks for watching. Hooroo.